Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, born October 2, 1869 to January 30, 1948, respectfully known as Mahatma Gandhi, was a British Indian politician, the father of India, the Indian nationalist movement and leader of the Congress Party. He led India to independence from British colonial rule. His philosophy of nonviolence influenced nationalists around the world and those international movements for peaceful change. The successful Indian independence movement also inspired people in other colonies to fight for national independence. Eventually, the British Empire fell apart and was replaced by the British Commonwealth. Gandhi's main belief was that truth is solid, which inspired other pro-democracy activists such as Martin Luther King, Aung San Suu Kyi and Nelson Mandela. He often said that his values were simple: truth and nonviolence. Let us understand the classic quotes of Mahatma Gandhi below. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. In a gentle way, you can shake the world. An eye for an eye only ends up making the whole world blind. Where there is love, there is life. The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. Power is of two kinds. One is obtained by the fear of punishment and the other by acts of love. Power based on love is 1,000 times more effective and permanent than the one derived from fear of punishment. There is a higher court than courts of justice, and that is the court of conscience. Lt supersedes all other courts. Even if you are a minority of one, the truth is the truth. Action expresses priorities. Whatever you do may seem insignificant to you, but it is most important that you do it. If I had no sense of humor, I would long ago have committed suicide. Palestine belongs to the Arabs in the same sense that England belongs to the English or France to the French. Nobody can hurt me without my permission. An ounce of practice is worth more than tons of preaching. Anger and intolerance are the enemies of correct understanding. The essence of all religions is one. Only their approaches are different. A coward is incapable of exhibiting love, it is the prerogative of the brave. A no uttered from the deepest conviction is better than a yes merrily uttered to please, or worse, to avoid trouble. Prayer is the key of the morning and the bolt of the evening. All compromise is based on give and take, but there can be no give and take on fundamentals. Any compromise on mere fundamentals is ajurangder. For it is all give and no take. Jesus is ideal and wonderful, but you Christians, you are not like him. To believe in something, and not to live it, is dishonest. In prayer it is better to have a heart without words than words without a heart. Those who say religion has nothing to do with politics do not know what religion is. It has always been a mystery to me how men can feel themselves honored by the humiliation of their fellow beings. Self-respect knows no considerations. Truth never damages a cause that is just. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. You must be the change you wish to see in the world. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. It is better to be violent, if there is violence in our hearts, than to put on the cloak of nonviolence to cover impotence. Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will. A nation's culture resides in the hearts and in the soul of its people. It is health that is real wealth and not pieces of gold and silver. You must not lose faith in humanity. Humanity is an ocean. If a few drops off the ocean are dirty, the ocean does not become dirty. Satisfaction lies in the effort, not in the attainment. Full effort is full victory. The greatness of a nation can be judged by the way its animals are treated. There is more to life than increasing its speed. You can chain me, you can torture me, you can even destroy this body, but you will never imprison my mind. there is a sufficiency in the world for man's need but not for man's greed. Let us all be brave enough to die the death of a martyr, but let no one lust for martyrdom. Prayer is not asking. LT is a longing of the soul. LT is daily admission of phone's weakness. LT is better in prayer to have a heart without words than words without a heart. A small body of determined spirits fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission can alter the course of history. When I admire the wonders of a sunset or the beauty of the moon, my soul expands in the worship of the Creator. A man is but the product of his thoughts, what he thinks he becomes. My life is my message. Man becomes great exactly in the degree in which he works for the welfare of his fellow men. Morality is the basis of things and truth is the substance of all morality. Object to violence because when it appears to do good, the good is only temporary, the evil it does is permanent. I suppose leadership at one time meant muscles, but today it means getting along with people. If we are to teach real peace in this world, and if we are to carry on a real war against war, we shall have to begin with the children. Anger is the enemy of nonviolence and pride is a monster that swallows it up. We may stumble and fall but shall rise again, it should be enough if we did not run away from the battle. LT is the quality of our work which will please God and not the quantity. What difference does it make to the dead, the orphans, and the homeless, whether the mad destruction is wrought under the name of totalitarian or the holy name of liberty or democracy? There is nothing that wastes the body like worry, and one who has any faith in God should be ashamed to worry about anything whatsoever. Man can never be a woman's equal in the spirit of selfless service with which nature has endowed her. Before the throne of the Almighty, man will be judged not by his acts but by his intentions. For God alone reads our hearts. Service which is rendered without joy helps neither the servant nor the slave. But all other pleasures and possessions pale into nothingness before service which is rendered in a spirit of joy. Welcome to subscribe to my channel. Luck and love are with you. Here is the story of Mahatma Gandhi. On October 2, 1869, Gandhi was born into a Hindu family in Porbandar, a port city in western British India, then an Indian state, now under the jurisdiction of Gujarat. His father, Karamchand Gandhi, was the prime minister of the princely state at that time. His mother, Putlabhai Gandhi, was his father's fourth wife. They are descendants of merchants. Gandhi means food merchant. On September 4, 1888, at the age of 19, he studied in England and studied law at University College London. While in London, he adhered to the instructions given by his mother when he left India, not to eat meat or drink alcohol. Although he tried to become British, such as taking dance lessons, he refused to eat the mutton and cabbage his landlady gave him. She introduced him to a vegetarian restaurant in London, where Gandhi learned about and became a vegetarian. After returning home, he qualified as a lawyer in the British Empire. He tried to practice law in Bombay. But the local laws are not quite the same as those in the UK, so it's a bit hard work. In April 1893, an Indian company sent Gandhi to work in South Africa. He was very disheartened to see that Indian immigrants in South Africa were largely deprived of their civil liberties and political rights. These immigrants were mainly indentured servants and self-employed traders. So he began protesting and lobbying against laws and racial discrimination against Indians in South Africa. Gandhi was arrested on November 6, 1913, while leading a group of Indian miners on a march in South Africa. In 1914, the government promised to reduce discrimination against Indians in South Africa. On March 18, 1922, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison by the British and Indian authorities, but he only served 2 years. In 1929, Gandhi came back and started the nonviolent non-cooperation movement again. Gandhi participated in the independence movement again in 1931. The Congress Party visited him then to lead another massive civil disobedience movement. He then led the most famous movement in his life from March 21 to April 6, 1930, to protest the colonial government's public sale of salt system. Gandhi marched 400 kilometers from Delhi to Ahmedabad. It was called the Delhi March. Thousands of people hiked to the beach to get their own salt instead of paying taxes to the government. While the nationwide protests were going on, Gandhi held a roundtable negotiation with the British Governor-General in India. The British and Indian authorities simultaneously took heavy action to suppress the protest movement, and the second nonviolent non-cooperation movement came to an end. Gandhi was also arrested and imprisoned for the second time in 1930. He was imprisoned 4 times in 1922, 1930, 1933 and 1942, and launched his civilized disobedience movement through hunger strikes in prison. In 1931, he went to London to participate in a roundtable conference on India's future, but there was no result. Gandhi observes silence 1 day a week. He believes that silence brings him inner peace, which comes from the power of silence and peace in Hinduism. He communicates by writing on paper during moments of silence. For 3.5 years starting from the age of 37, Gandhi refused to read newspapers. He believed that the noise of the world was more unbearable than his inner restlessness. Gandhi advocated mutual respect among all religions, so he did not claim to have a specific belief. This transcendent sentiment stemmed from the fact that he was not focusing on the reputation of individual religions, but re-emphasis on the human-centered dimension rather than religion. The central tool-oriented thinking, he does not discriminate or exclude any beliefs that are different from his own nation. It was announced on August 15, 1947 that India was officially independent. At this time, many of Gandhi's followers began to refer to him as Mahatma. On the day when power was handed over, Gandhi did not celebrate India's independence. Instead, he mourned the partition alone in Calcutta. Gandhi's successor, Nehru, became the first Prime Minister of independent India. Some resented his acceptance of the Partition Act and rejected his philosophy of nonviolence. When Hindus and Muslims began rioting again, Gandhi began his 15th hunger strike, telling everyone that he would not eat until the armistice. He succeeded in stabilizing the situation for a time. But on January 30, 1948, Gandhi, who had just ended his hunger strike, was shot to death by a Hindu fanatic, Nandaram Godse, on his way to a prayer meeting in New Delhi. At the moment when he was shot, Gandhi gestured to express his forgiveness for the murderer and said, "Ah, God bless him." In the subsequent trial, Godse claimed, "Before I shot, I sincerely blessed him," Gandhi, and bowed respectfully to him in person. Then Indian Prime Minister Nehru addressed the nation through radio broadcasts and said, "The light has left our lives, and now everything is dark." Gandhi achieved India's independence by practicing nonviolent and peaceful methods, and at the same time inspired people in many countries around the world to stand up and fight for their civil rights. This wave of freedom movements has far-reaching influence. In 2003, the World Peace Prize jury awarded Gandhi the International Award for Human Cultural Assets posthumously. In 2007, the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution to designate October 2, Mahatma Gandhi's birthday, as the International Day of Nonviolence. The purpose is to hope that all countries will oppose any violence. Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence is a reminder that through dialogue, understanding, and reconciliation, society can change, even in the most difficult of times. The ideas he left behind are not only the soul of the Indian independence movement, but also an example for all mankind to pursue peace and justice.